Children Ministries. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching this video. Today I'm going to talk to you about R.A.F.T.S. How do we get our children to write? Well, this can actually be really tricky. Usually, kids need some help learning how to narrow their topics so they are manageable to write about. This is where you come in to help them focus. Kids generally struggle with organizing their ideas that they can fit in with their writing purpose. So R.A.F.T.S actually will help your students do this. They will begin to write with focus, clarity, and energy. So this is how we get kids to write. So what are R.A.F.T.S? R.A.F.T.S are simply prompts that we use in writing. The 7 key characteristics are ideas, which is the meaning and development of the message. Organization, which is the internal structure of the piece. Voice, which is the way the writer brings the topic to life. Word choice is the specific vocabulary that the writer uses to convey meaning. Sentence fluency is the way the words and phrases flow through the text. Conventions is the mechanical correctness of the piece. And finally, presentation is the overall appearance of the work. R is for role, a role from which to write. A is for audience, an audience to address. F is for format, a format in which to write. T is for topic, a topic about which to write. S is for strong verb, a strong verb that suggests the purpose of the writing. So you might be asking, how do I construct a raft? First, you will identify each component of the prompt. For example, in the book Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, you might choose these components: the role of Templeton, the audience of the groundskeepers at the fair. The format is a speech. The topic is why you deserve all the leftover food from a day at the fair. And the strong verb is convince. So this is what it would look like. Write the prompt in paragraph form. Since establishing a role for the writer in the first step, most R.A.F.T.S prompts start with you are. Here's your example. You are Templeton the rat and have stowed away in Wilbur's crate, which is going to the fair. Create a speech to convince the groundskeepers to give you all the leftover food from a day at the fair. Then you will underline and label the key components of the prompt to ensure your students have all the necessary pieces to make their writing work. Next, you will introduce the R.A.F.T.S prompt to your students by discussing the purpose of each component and then provide enough time for them to create successful pieces. When writing a R.A.F.T.S prompt, students will focus on traits like this. The role and the audience will help your students decide the voice and the word choice trait. The format will help your students with the organization component of their writing. The topic will help your students hone in and focus on the ideas portion of their writing. The strong verb will direct your students to the purpose of the writing. For example, persuade or analyze, predict or compare. Then your students will clearly write using all of the traits: ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, conventions, and presentation. When you use the language of the traits as the foundation, R.A.F.T.S becomes another tool for you to help your students generate interesting, original, and finely crafted writing. Once you have chosen a R.A.F.T.S prompt, introduce it to your students and start by defining each component and showing how it links to the traits of writing. I will discuss with you and show you the ideas and language to get you started. Once you and your students understand how the R.A.F.T.S components can help you and them focus on writing, the use of prompts in all of your content areas will take off and your students will begin to enjoy writing. Something you should know is the role of the writer is as varied as your imagination. Roles can be gleaned from subjects and topics, school situation, book characters, real people. The sky is the limit. When the student assumes a role other than him or herself, he or she must decide on the appropriate voice for the piece. When introducing the role, remind students that the role asks them to think about who is the author of this piece. What you might tell students when talking about the role. You think about the way the author would write about the topic. What voice is just right for this piece of writing? Confident, funny, compassionate, serious? The words and phrases in your writing should enhance the voice that you choose. So ask yourself, how would this person use words to express him or herself clearly and make his or her voice heard? What you should know about audience. You, the teacher, are your students' typical audience. By assigning a specific audience, you can empower your students to communicate their ideas to someone other than yourself as their teacher or their mom teacher. Encourage them to think about how best to reach their audience through voice and word choice, making sure to consider what they know about the topic. When introducing audience to students, have them place themselves in the assigned role and then answer the question, who is the audience for this writing? You might tell your students, when writing to a certain audience, keep in mind that you will need to determine the perfect match of voice and word choice to communicate your ideas. Consider the relationship between the role and the audience and the kind of voice that is most appropriate. Think about the words you will use. Should you be formal, informal? What vocabulary will be explained? Be sure to think about not only what needs to be said, but also how it needs to be said. Some things you should know about format. Assigning a specific format gives you the opportunity to help your students learn about many possible organizational structures for their writing. I'm going to attach a link below for you to see some different kinds of formats to consider when creating your own prompts. Teach them to write brochures and directions and advertisements and letters and so much more. By learning the different formats, students will practice organizing their ideas in many different ways. And when introducing formats to students, have them think about the question, how do the ideas need to be organized? Some things that you might tell your students are that there are many different formats in writing. By focusing on format, you will be practicing and learning organizational structures for your writing. And once you know the format for the piece that you're going to write, ask yourself, how do I organize this piece to achieve this particular format? Where should it start? What is in the middle? How will it end? What should my writing look like? What are the most important organizational issues when I write in this format? So let's talk about topic for a moment. Some things you should know about topic is topic helps the students focus on the details of their writing so that their idea develops as clearly as possible. The topic should be well defined and contain clear guidelines like write a persuasive letter to the principal and include several strong arguments for a day of recess. Giving students these clear guidelines will help them determine how much information they should include in order to develop their ideas fully. When introducing the topic to students, have them think about the question, what is the main idea of their writing? These are some things you might tell your students when you talk about the topic. If the topic of your writing is to explain or inform the reader of something, ask yourself, have I included enough information so that the reader thinks that I am an expert? Do all of my ideas add up to something important? Have I told the reader something he or she doesn't already know? If this topic is to develop a narrative, ask yourself, is my story fully developed and complete? Have I written a story that is interesting and will it hold the reader's attention? Have I put in the just right amount of detail? Let's talk about strong verb for a moment. Some things you should know about strong verb. A strong verb, such as persuade, analyze, create, predict, or compare, helps students see the purpose of the writing and from there determine the appropriate ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions for their writing. I'm going to attach a link at the bottom of this page for strong verbs to consider when creating your own prompts. Helping students see how being clear about the overall purpose for their writing works hand in hand with each trait. By establishing a clear purpose at the beginning, students will be able to focus on the goal, creating a strong piece of writing. When introducing the strong verb to students, have them think about the question, what is the purpose of the writing? So these are some things that you might tell your students when talking about strong verbs. The strong verb directs you to the purpose of your writing, which in turn helps you determine the appropriate ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions for your writing. If, for example, the strong verb lets you know that your purpose is to persuade, then your writing should contain thoughtful arguments that will convince your reader of your point. Ask yourself, what purpose for writing does the strong verb convey? What words can I use to help make my purpose clear? What voice will best suit my purpose? How can I construct my sentences to help bring my idea to life? What is the best organization to make this piece of writing really work well? Are there things I should do with conventions to make sure that this piece of writing fulfills its purpose? Students need a lot of practice to become proficient in the various modes of writing. So you might be asking yourself, what are the modes of writing? Well, they are narrative, expository, persuasive, descriptive, imaginative. You can provide practice for students by adding a writing mode to your prompt to help your students understand whether they need to tell a story or to inform or to explain or to construct an argument. Maybe you want them to paint a picture with words or create a new way of saying things. It's really easy. All you really need to do is add a writing mode to the format. Some examples are attached at the bottom of this video. Just click the link below and access your samples and try to use them in your classroom today. So just like that. It's easy, right? So now give it a try. So when your students write to R.A.F.S, they get a good look at how quality literature works by exploring its parts from the inside out. They take on various roles and write for various audiences. They learn to imagine the world through different lenses and solve problems for the character. As they write about topics that naturally evolve from the stories, they consider the text's plot and key moments. R.A.F.S allows students to explore literature in new ways by encouraging them to think about the most important aspects of writing, as all good writers do. R.A.F.S create opportunities for students to interact meaningfully with literature. When students read books and write to R.A.F.S based on them, they think past what happened and who did it, and they think about why things happened, what circumstances were in place for the events to unfold as they did, and what might have to change for things to turn out differently. Indeed, students develop high-level evaluation skills as they reinterpret the content of these books for different audiences and for different purposes. To create an effective piece of writing, they must know the characters and the storyline well enough to convince their intended readers of the meaning of the message. These provide a structure for helping students delve deeper into texts of any sort. So after you have introduced your students to the idea of R.A.F.S prompts, go ahead and give them a prompt. Just let them think about it for a while and let them think about what they will write. As their mom teacher or their teacher, you can introduce some questions that might help them make connections between R.A.F.S components and information your students need to complete their writing. This is an example of a reproducible for you just to get started. Remember, The sky is the limit. This is not the only thing that there is. Once you get used to this, you can start making your own for any kind of literature that you want to use in your own classroom or that is driven by your own curriculum. Once you and your students are comfortable using these ready-to-go rafts, go. Create your own for you and your own diversified needs and wants in your classroom. Whatever your curriculum is, weave those into it. You can do it. Students will eventually begin focusing on the writing traits in all of their content areas. These fun prompts complement the traits of writing and help your students focus on their writing, having fun, and being successful. Thank you for watching this video on implementing rafts into your own homeschool or classroom. If you liked this video and enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button below and hit the thumbs up. Thank you for watching.